noch größere Worte, präsentiere ich dann einfach den Basavaraj Savalier von Frappe Technologies, also vom Mutterschiff sozusagen von ERPNext. So, please.
Well, thanks, Lloyd. So, this is my first time in Germany, second time in Europe, and I'm having a really good time. We spent the weekend in Frankfurt. We had a jog on the banks of Main River. We're just having a great time. So first of all, I would like to thank Martin and Siebert Media team for hosting us and also for taking leadership in launching ERPNext in Germany. I think let's start with a round of applause for Siebert Media team for hosting us. So most of you already know what ERPNext is, who uses it, why is it getting popular, and things like that. So I have chosen this topic to talk about, which is can we, by we, I mean the ERPNext community, can we disrupt enterprise? So what is enterprise, right? In the context of an ERP, so companies which are large and which are complex, they are enterprises. Like there are about 5,000 companies, mostly small and mid-sized companies, which are using ERPNext. But now there is some traction from enterprise. And by enterprise, I mean large and complex companies. So can ERPNext disrupt that space is what I'm going to talk about. So I've been in ERP industry for about 8.5 years now. I've been working as a consultant in Frappe for 1.5 years, but before that I was part of ERPNext Foundation, and before that I was in Deloitte Consulting as an SAP analyst. And based on my observation, I would like to share two trends which are happening and why I think ERPNext might disrupt enterprise. So the first one is the modern enterprise. I have taken an example of one of the companies which is based out of Barcelona. I visited them last year. So this company is basically into manufacturing of electric car chargers. So as you can see here, this is their product. It's basically an electric vehicle charger. So if we look at this company, which is basically a manufacturing company, and yet 30% of the employees in a manufacturing company are basically software engineers and working on different technologies. They have built a beautiful application called My Workbox, which basically helps you track how much energy did you consume, how much do you have to pay, and things like that. And this is not isolated to Wallbox. Most modern enterprises, they grow very fast, and technology is really at the heart of their operations. It's not just manufacturing, but the way they use or the way they consume technology is very different compared to traditional companies. So a lot of companies are very comfortable, or they are getting comfortable in consuming technology, in using technology, and capturing some value out of technology. I also have another example. This is another client that I work closely with. It's called Bonito Designs. They're based out of Bangalore in India. So basically they are an interior design company, and even an interior design company has 15% of their employees in technology. These are engineers, developers, web designers, and things like that. So basically, if you see, so what really differs, and Bonito Design got a lot of funding, and what really differentiate them is again technology. So they would take a picture of your house or a flat, and then they would render how their products would look like. For example, if we took an image of this room, they will render how their products will look like if you bought it and you installed it. So, and not only in rendering the images, but also everything, the interaction from the day you go to their website and register your details till it is the furniture and everything is installed. They use technology a lot. So there's manufacturing, there is interior design. You take any modern company, they not only specialize in something, but they are very, very comfortable in using technology. So they are not just consumers of our product. They're basically co-creators. You no more say, I know what an ERP is, I have built it, and buy it. That doesn't work. So it's basically co-creation. You work with them and build products with them. So, and they're very tech savvy, and they're also open source aware. They like to explore how the product is built, how does it work, and then build on top of it. And they're very fast growing. So you can't go and tell them, I know what you need, here it is, and use it. You will have to work with them. They would like to know how does the interior of the product work, and they would like to build on top of it. So this is how the modern companies are being created. This is how companies are working. There is also mature enterprise on the other spectrum. So this is, we have seen how does a modern enterprise look like, but now let's have a look at the mature enterprise. There is a company called Neolink, which is based out of India again. So they are contract manufacturing of electronics. They have very well-established processes. They import raw materials from China, and then they assemble them, they design them. So they have a very complex processes of importing, subcontracting, and quality, and things like that. So this is not a new company. This is the people in this company have been in this industry for a long, long time. But they also look at what is happening in newer companies, and they understand that they have to get comfortable with technology. So they are really enthusiastic. They're wary of vendor lock-in, and they are also hiring engineers, developers with open source background, and trying to differentiate their offerings. So in this, how the modern companies are changing, and also how the established companies are aware about open source, about cloud. They see that newer companies are getting huge market shares very quickly, so they're very aware of it. So they are becoming comfortable with cloud and with free and open source software. So this is our opportunity as an ERPNext community in these trends. So this is our opportunity because both the modern enterprises and also the mature enterprises would like to work with open source companies, with cloud offerings. So basically, this is our opportunity that we have a good product, and we are very well positioned to go out and disrupt the enterprise market. So what do we need to do? This is what I hear about this at least once from Rishabh every single day, is we need to be excellent in whatever we do, whether it's documentation, whether it's... so if you send a pull request with 3 columns in a doc type, it's not going to get much, because you really need to know the product. There are always 2 columns. All child tables have items as a plural. So whatever we do, it has to be really, really excellent, whether it's writing documentation, whether it's writing code. So excellence has to be part of it. That's the currency which goes in ERPNext community. So with that, finally, I would like to end my presentation with this quote. There's nothing as powerful as an idea whose time has come. And I think the time of ERPNext has come. So I think now the answer is obvious to this question, can we disrupt enterprise? I think yes. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Raj? Yes, please.
Wait a little. Been loud enough. I have a question regarding version 12, which has been, I think, everyone's been talking about it, a lot of new changes. And your focus on the presentation was the enterprise market. Can you comment on whether you feel that version 12 is enterprise ready?
Yeah. Yes. We and the core team has been focusing for the first 10 years mostly on building a product which is self-implementable, especially by smaller companies. But then something interesting happened. India's largest logistics company is using ERPNext. India's largest fintech company is using ERPNext. India's largest conglomerate, which has 350 companies, out of which I'm implementing or have completed about 60% of implementation in one company. We are also implementing in 2 other companies. This is something probably we never consciously tried to enter enterprise market. It was a pull from their end. They weren't happy with what was there in the market, and they discovered ERPNext. They started using it. So looking at that, I would say, but having said that, yeah, there's a lot of things we need to do. But I think we're just beginning to see, and hopefully it will now explode in terms of adoption. So I would say we have just put our first step into the enterprise market.
Raj, as you gave us a lot of room, let me join this discussion a little.
Yeah.
And hopefully others will join as well. Our employees ask me the same questions. So, is this enterprise ready? And something that we discussed yesterday already is we're manipulating a lot of data through the API of ERPNext, which is awesome. I'm going to talk about this later. And one challenge was with ERPNext 12 that an update through the API wasn't possible. For some reason, that feature broke. So you could update stuff on the web interface. You could pull data through the API. You could delete data through the API, but you couldn't update it. And then developers came to me and said, is that an enterprise-ready software where the API breaks after a major change? And my answer would be, this is open source. You're part of this disruption, or you aren't. If you're a simple consumer, you have to take it as it is. It's a free software, so free as in beer. It may taste a little pale every now and then, but it's up to you to make sure it's an awesome drink. And there are a lot of ways to contribute. You don't have to be a developer to be part of an open source community. You can work on documentation, you can work on marketing. We need a lot of marketing in Germany, that's why we have this event. And so, yeah, it's a question that in an open source community, I would redirect this to you yourself. What is it that you do to make it enterprise ready?
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, if you want to. So the comment I had was, if you see already most enterprises or almost all enterprises run Linux OS, which is a free and open source software. So it has happened, databases, web frameworks, everything is open source, almost everything is open source. And I think this is going to happen in applications market also. So as we see more traction, as we see more partners signing up, as we see more customers using it, I think it's going to get better and better. So I would say, yeah,
Can you tell us a little bit about how many people work at Frappe and how much of those hours that you work go into the ERPNext core? There's obviously things like, for example, for CBIT Media, you work and then we pay you for that. Let's leave that out. Although some of that is going into core as well, right? So how much of your hours go into core and how many people are you?
So right now there are about 40 people in Frappe. About 1 year back there were just 20. And I think in the next one and a half year it will be somewhere around 80 in my expectation, because we are doing a lot of hiring. That's in terms of employee strength. Out of 40 people, 30 are developers, 10 are consultants like me. And I think everything that we have done for CBIT Media is in core. We have done zero custom development for CBIT Media. And I would say there's hardly 2 to 3% which is done for a specific client.
So basically everything you do
Yeah.
is for the core.
Yeah, everything we do is for core. We say no to we get a lot of offer to develop custom applications, and we say no. So for a long time, I think for almost 10 years, it was just 10 developers who were developing the product. And the reason why the product evolved to this level was they said no to every single. So after working in Deloitte for 2 years, I started working in a different company where I did the implementation. That time, Frappe refused to do consulting also. So I had no choice but to go through the source code and the documentation and figure it out myself. And I did an implementation, and then that's how I ended up joining Frappe. So they said no to consulting also, but now we are doing a little bit of consulting. So I would say 98% of everything that we do, especially the 30 developers, goes into core. And what we learn, the consultants, we try to put it in documentation and guidelines and things like that.
Would you be okay to share a little bit about why you were asking this question, what the problems were that you were?
Sure. We operate for now 3 years a consulting business based on ERPNext. I mean, I love the product. We had introduced it in 2016, that was, not 2006. And it was great, and it's a brilliant platform. I don't have to say, I think everyone knows that here. What we've seen more and more with version 12 is that there were on the master, I mean there's no longer a master branch, but on the, I'll call it stable branch, there's a lot of issues that came in that felt untested. For the German market, for example, I think this is still open, which is the comma, the decimal separator issue, which basically makes the product in the stable branch not usable for a company here. And now, I mean, Martin, I like your point, and also yours, where you draw the analogy to Linux. Basically, no one's using the pure kernel, but you use your distro, you use Ubuntu, you use Debian, you use OpenSUSE, whichever. And it makes me think that, Martin, you said, what can you do for it? I think to be enterprise ready, at the moment I feel that version 12, using it like this in an enterprise, and I'm curious to hear if someone's using the version 12 as is.
So most of my accounts, I handle some of the biggest ERPNext accounts. They're all on ERPNext version 12. So yeah, there are specific issues, and I agree that some when we say enterprise ready, probably it has to be a little more. The finishing touch has to be there, but enterprises generally they also work with good contributors, so their issues get the priority and they get resolved. So when any of my accounts report an issue, my job is online, so I make sure that that issue gets fixed and resolved. There are issues, and if you know, Frappe, we focused a lot on improving the documentation in the last 6 months. Most people don't know this; they continue to just complain. But we have invested a lot in improving the documentation, the English documentation. And the next focus for us is going to be to build a quality control team. So if you know, the reason why we were able to maintain good quality was there are just 2 to 3 people who merge all the pull requests. So they know every single line of code that is getting into the core. We also get a lot of flack from the community for not merging PRs and things like that. But it's when we know the reputation of the person who's sending the pull request, which also counts a little. So that's how we are able to maintain the quality of the product. But yeah, there are specific issues which can be resolved. If Siebert Media had reported that issue, we would have fixed it in probably a couple of days.
I wanted to join exactly that. Like we found very similar things. Like they use points and we use commas, and then the reverse, and they don't know anything about datev, and like a lot of German special things that came up. And one of the things that we did is we asked them, like, do you have any type of subscription? And actually they have, and we got that subscription. And to be perfectly honest, we don't need it. Like we had a call and said, actually, I don't think we need that support thing. And what I actually need is I need you to fix those bugs that block us, and that should be fixed in the core. And like, we're paying, I don't know whether Rushup would feel confident I share that, but we pay a significant amount of money for them to listen to us. So if we submit a bug like this, they at least answer and point us to where we can fix this. There have been situations, and Mario in the back, who is our product owner, can probably help you understand where our team has decided to fix that themselves, and where we tried to impose on them that this is so core that they should fix it. And you need a microphone to join this discussion. And I don't want to say like pay for priority, but what you could do is you could at least ask for where is it in the code where I'm going to fix this comma thing, or where would you want to ask? And I think that Frappe is going to be very inclined to make sure that new contributors to the core will become more and more active. And I think like this with the comma and the thing with the API update that I brought up, it's a very simple solution. We need unit tests. We need automatic tests that run for every new check-in, for every new pull request, so that everyone knows, okay, API is broken now. So off you go, fix your pull request, and we don't pull in so many bugs. And it's a massive effort to create those automated tests. And yeah, I'm hoping that today is going to be an ignition for you to start contributing wherever you can. You wanted to join?
Yeah, just one thing that wasn't mentioned, but what I think is quite important is that sometimes we like, as he said, like we give requirements to Frappe and then they build it for us and then they test it. But for example, we have 13,000 customers, and then when they show me what they've built, they test the feature with like 2 customers, and then some errors cannot occur because they don't have the amount of data. But that's something I gave them as an input, and they understood what I mean, and that's something they will work on. And I think if they try to test these features with a system that's actually like realistic to an enterprise system, I think this will also benefit a lot of the work on the bugs and finding like bugs early on and not once you have it. Yeah.
I'll give you the microphone. Just one addition. If you are checking out ERPNext right now, like you do, you said, One of the core things you should make sure is you need to have someone who's technical. Someone who understands those nitty details of technical problems. If you don't have them, you should get one of those service providers in here, because then they will have to take care of that. If you're just the guy like me who can log into a system with the username and password and everything should fall in place automatically, that's not ERPNext. That's not the experience that we can offer today. It's more of I tinker with this software until it works the way I need to work with it. Are there more questions, or do you wanted to say something?
No, I just quickly wanted to comment on I think the comma thing in core is still not fixed, to be honest. We opened an issue, we reported. We sent in a pull request to fix it. We actually had fixed it for our customers because no one could actually work with it, right? Mm-hmm. Because when you enter €5,50, it gives you 550 euros. So in a productive environment, and our customers are really using it in a productive environment, in an enterprise scale. So this has to be fixed within 24 hours. And I think what we can do for it is basically we operate a fork, which is very, very close to version 12, but we found that in version 12 we have to be further away than in version 10 that we had before. There we could really push through most of the things one-to-one, but now we felt that there's a lot of, especially the localization things, there's a patch, for example, which will always fail in German, and things like that.
Your friction is that your pull request wasn't accepted, or you said you fixed it and you gave a pull request and it's...
I'm actually not sure whether the pull request went through. I think it's still open. Okay. But we actually don't track it because we fix it in our fork, and we send in the pull request.
It may be a little bit detailed for everyone in the room already, but like if you put in...
On your side, maybe and then we'll have the next...
Great, thanks for the discussion. I could put my thoughts together. When I think of enterprise, I think about a different scale completely. It's mind-boggling. The last two companies I worked for, just the regional implementation of SAP cost them $200 million each, and that's mind-boggling compared to what ERPNext could think of at the moment, or even the whole ecosystem can think of. Just to give you an idea, the data warehouse project for one company was $1 billion over 10 years. And just collecting all the purchase order line item was $4.5 million budget. Just to give you an idea of what enterprise level ERP system does, or what it's supposed to do. So it's quite a large scale.
Well, if you know Zeroda, which is...
Yeah, I know. Of course, I'm not debating the capability. Hang on. The point I'm trying to make is, once they have sunk so much money into it, it's not that overnight they'll pull their SAP out and then they'll put a different system in. It's not going to happen. Do you know what I mean? But that being said, there are other enterprises that are growing or in the path to become an enterprise. I think that is absolutely the perfect choice to go with the ERP. I'm a big fan, by the way. And the other market I am discovering more and more is the tier 2 of enterprise. So basically what happens is a lot of companies grow by acquisition, and they acquire a business here of 10, 20, $30 million, along with the plant, the warehouse, whatever, 100 people, 200 people, just keep adding to it. And they have a very archaic ERP system that was built by somebody local. And what companies are trying to do now is they know that they cannot go to SAP everywhere. They just know that because the business generates, I don't know, $5 million a year, and then they have to invest $500,000 for bringing the ERP. So that's not going to happen as well. And tier 2 ERP system for enterprises could be a great place for something like ERPNext, because it is just good enough. And it doesn't have to do more than that. Look after one plant or one site or one warehouse or one office or whatever it is, manage one set of books, and then consolidate into their overall scale. So something that what you are saying about the big company in India that you're working on, something similar. So it is, I think you are in the journey to get there, but I think there's still more, it has to be in a different scale than what you're thinking at the moment.
I can learn from that is there's a lot of money that in this open source world can be distributed to service providers who are here. And if we together can make sure that the experience is similar or good enough, as you said, there's probably, we could cut out a 0 or 2 out of your numbers, and still a lot of people in this room would feel that it is an attractive project. Raj?
One last comment from my end. So basically, the center of ERPNext universe is Frappe, the company that I work for. And I work with some of the largest ERPNext implementations. Maybe you can't see it right now, but I can, which is working so closely with so many clients. There are some really huge enterprises for which we are not ready, but I'm probably a little too early, but I can see that they really like what we have to offer. If you know, Uber also uses MariaDB as a database, which is what ERPNext also uses. Zerodha has, I think, around 4.5 billion GL entries in their ERPNext implementation. So working so closely with them, I can see it. And you will also see it pretty soon. So we have to be ready for it as an ecosystem, as partners, as clients. We have to be ready for it. So if you see one of my slides, it's our opportunity. So the market wants us to be there and to serve them. So it's our opportunity that we get ready for it. So yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Raj.
Thanks everyone.
Okay.